When I was a kid, my parents would sometimes drop me off at my Aunt Clara and Uncle Raymond's farm for the weekend. I'd mostly spend my time with their two sons, Mason and Eli, my cousins, both around my age. They lived on a small stretch of land in the countryside, surrounded by cornfields and dusty trails. It was the kind of place where the air always smelled like hay, and the sky seemed twice as big. We had total freedom out there. We could run wild, build forts, dig holes, whatever came to mind. But the one place that always called to us, even though we knew better, was the old, rotting farmhouse about half a mile away, just over the ridge. It had been abandoned for decades. The buildings were sagging, paint peeled off like dead skin, and every window was either smashed or boarded up. It was perfect for three curious boys looking for a thrill. The stories made it irresistible. According to Mason and Eli, the farmhouse used to belong to a man named Garrett Furlow. Supposedly, he went mad one winter and slaughtered his entire family with an axe before hanging himself from the rafters. Of course, he didn't stay dead. They claimed his ghost still roamed the halls, every night looking for new blood. Even back then, I figured they were just trying to scare me. But something about that place made the hairs on my neck stand up. One afternoon, we decided to play hide and seek. When it was my turn to hide, I bolted straight for the farmhouse, heart pounding with excitement. I climbed the stairs of a sagging brown barn that had a small living space built on the upper floor. The door creaked open like something out of a haunted movie. Inside, time had stood still. Furniture was left to rot where it had been. Dusty plates were still on the table. Broken books, torn clothes, shattered picture frames. It looked like whoever lived here had just disappeared. I stepped over a crumbling stack of newspapers and found a narrow bedroom tucked at the end of the hall. Inside was a closet with a line of long black dresses hanging from a rod. Perfect hiding spot. I slipped in, pulled the folding door shut, and crouched down behind the dresses, knees hugged to my chest. A sliver of daylight shone through a crack in the door. I waited, listening for footsteps, any sign that Mason or Eli were coming. Minutes passed, then an hour. Eventually I started nodding off. When I jerked awake, it was pitch black. I sat there frozen, heart hammering. I had no idea how long I'd been out. I'd fallen asleep in a haunted house in a closet, and now it was night. The silence was deafening. I stretched my legs trying to get up, but a sharp cramp shot through my calf. I was massaging it, whispering curses to myself when I heard it. Slam. A door slammed downstairs. I stopped breathing, then thud, 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 footsteps. But not light, hurried footsteps like a kid. These were heavy, slow, deliberate. Each step echoed up the stairwell, followed by a dragging sound like something scraping across the floorboards. It was getting closer. I squeezed my eyes shut. My heart was pounding in my ears, drowning out everything else. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. I could hear the floor creaking under the weight of whoever or whatever it was. Then, silence, until the closet door creaked forward slightly, just an inch. Then nothing. It turned and walked away, dragging that thing behind it, out into the hallway again. I sat there shaking, waiting for it to come back. But the footsteps faded. Everything went quiet. That silence was even worse. I was just about to push the door open and make a run for it when three things happened, all at once. The closet filled with the smell of rotting meat, something wet and foul. I heard slow, raspy breathing directly behind me, and I felt hot breath brush against the back of my neck. That was it. I launched myself out of that closet like a wild animal, not caring what I bumped into. I didn't look back. I didn't want to. I tore through that house, banging into walls, slipping on the stairs, arms flailing. But I could hear it behind me. The footsteps. Faster now. Heavier. It was chasing me. I threw the front door open so hard it nearly came off the hinges and bolted into the night. When I finally turned around, there was nothing. No sound, no shadow. Just the dark, empty porch of a house that should have been left to rot. But I didn't stop running until I reached Aunt Clara's house. There were, flashing red and blue lights in the driveway. My parents were there too, pale and terrified. Everyone started yelling at once, asking where I'd been. My cousins had gone back without me hours ago. When I didn't show, they called the cops. And here's the weird part. The police told me they searched every building on that abandoned farm. Twice. They didn't find a single trace of me, not even footprints. They thought I was lying. But years later, Mason admitted something he and Eli had kept secret. While they were searching, they thought they saw me in the second-story bedroom window. They ran closer, calling my name. That's when they saw him. A boy about our age, standing where I had been. But it wasn't me. He smiled at them, waved slowly, and motioned for them to come upstairs. They ran all the way home, all the while I was asleep in the closet. A few months back, I was hanging out at my friend's place down the street. That's where we all usually ended up, our whole little group from the neighborhood. I'm 16 now, second oldest in our crew. There's Marcus, he's 17. My best friend is Leo, same grade as me, but a little younger. Then there's Jace and Emily, both 14. Tyler's 13, and the youngest of the group, Owen, is just 12. We might have had a big age spread, but it didn't matter. We were the only kids on our quiet, spaced-out street. When you grow up somewhere that empty, you cling to the few people you can actually relate to. Our Friday night ritual was something we never skipped, a big game of manhunt. We'd play near Emily and Tyler's house, which sat right on the edge of a patch of woods and old properties that had long since been forgotten by time. Our neighborhood wasn't like the usual suburban layout. It was more like a backroads community with long driveways, uneven lots, and dark stretches between the homes. That made manhunt really fun, and sometimes really creepy. This night, it was our turn to hide. My team was set. Me, Jace, Emily, and most importantly, Leo. We had our system down, so we immediately headed over to the edge of the block, where the old Wilkerson house sat empty. Mr. Wilkerson was an old man who'd passed away about 4 years ago. No one ever moved in after that. The house just sat there, quiet, overgrown, forgotten. Naturally, it became a perfect addition to our play area. Leo and I went around the back where there was a small weed-choked path that led down toward a stagnant lake. Some tall bushes by the fence offered decent cover. I crouched down, ready to wait it out. But Leo had other plans. "I'm going in," he whispered, grinning as he pointed at a sliding window that had been left cracked open. "You're nuts," but he was already slipping inside. So I stayed put in the bushes alone, waiting, watching, breathing as quietly as I could. Maybe 5 minutes passed before I heard movement. Two of the seekers coming through the backyard, rustling leaves, whispering way too loud. I pressed myself into the shadows and waited. They passed by, kept going down the block. Opportunity. I peeked around the bushes, scanning the house. I was hoping Leo would pop his head out so I could wave him on. Then I spotted him, or someone. In the upstairs window, I saw Leo's head, staring down at me. I smiled, waved, gave him the signal to come down, but he didn't move. He didn't even acknowledge me, just stared. I thought maybe he couldn't see me, so I ran over to the side of the house, slid open the window he used, and climbed inside. "Leo!" My voice bounced off the empty walls. And that's when I heard it. His voice just a few feet away behind me. "Dude, shh!" I spun around and found him crouched behind a table in the dining room. My stomach dropped. "How did you get downstairs so fast? I've been down here the whole time. I never went upstairs." We both froze. Then we both looked up. There was a long, slow creaking sound coming from the ceiling above us, like someone shifting their weight across the old wooden floor. We didn't speak. We just bolted, scrambling back out the window, not even bothering to close it behind us. We ran all the way back to Tyler's house and called off the game. Later that night, we told Marcus and Leo's dad what had happened. They were skeptical, but when we explained what we saw and where, we convinced them to check the place out. So Leo's dad, Mr. Ramirez, used to be friends with Mr. Wilkerson, which meant he actually knew the house really well. The four of us, me, Leo, Marcus, and Mr. Ramirez, headed back over there together. We went in the same way as before, through the back window. The house felt even colder this time. Still, empty. But I don't know, something was just off. You could almost feel it in the walls. Mr. Ramirez led us upstairs, holding a flashlight. We walked right into the bathroom, the exact one with the window where I'd seen that figure before. The room was mostly empty, except for one thing. A crumpled reddish-brown blanket shoved into the corner of the floor. Nobody said anything for a moment. We just stared at it. Then Mr. Ramirez slowly opened the rest of the doors upstairs, checking each room one by one. Nothing. No signs of anyone. No footprints. No open windows. Just the smell of dust and the sound of our own breathing. Mr. Ramirez said, I don't know what you boys saw, but if any of us sees someone in this house again, we call the police. Immediately. It's been a few months since that night. We still play manhunt, but we don't go near that house anymore. And I haven't seen anything strange since. But I know what I saw in that window. And it wasn't Leo. Growing up, I used to play this wild team version of hide and seek with my neighborhood friends. It wasn't your typical count and find kind of deal. We had two full teams, hiders and seekers, and for the hiders to win, we had to make it to a set checkpoint without getting tagged. The seekers had to tag all of us using a two-hand touch on the back, just like touch football. We started playing around age 8 and kept it going until we were about 13. I lived in Oak Ridge Bend, just 4 houses in a tight curve, and there were kids my age in every one of them. Just outside Oak Ridge Bend, another few kids lived along the stretch of road, so we had a solid crew. We always played in Oak Ridge Bend. It had everything: wide open space, bushes, trees, and since every house belonged to one of us, we could use the whole block as our playground. What made it even cooler was that Oak Ridge Bend backed right up to the town's nature preserve. Those woods added a whole extra layer of thrill and sometimes danger to our games. It was 2008. I was 11, still too young to care about girls or parties. Friday nights were all about flashlight tag, manhunt, and hide and seek. There were 6 of us that night, split into 2 teams of 3. I was on the hiding team first. The seekers counted down from 30 as we scattered in different directions. I darted toward my best friend Wyatt's house, next door to mine, and came up with what I thought was a genius idea. Wyatt had this green blanket on his back patio. It was bunched under a couple of flower pots, just sitting there like it didn't want to be used. I moved the pots quietly, grabbed the blanket and folded it over my shoulders like camouflage. Then I crawled to the bushes near the edge of the woods. His backyard didn't have a fence, so it bled right into the forest. I heard the latch click open on the gate. Someone was coming. Fast. I bolted into the woods and dropped to the ground, kneeling behind a thicket with the green blanket pulled over me. It was hard to breathe from under the fabric, but I kept peeking out through a small fold to see what was happening. Eventually, I spotted one of the seekers creeping through the yard, checking under tables, behind furniture, whispering back to the others. While they were busy, I slowly crawled on my knees toward the next house over. That's when I heard the muffled sound of someone getting tagged. One of my teammates caught. I froze, watching through the holes in the blanket. I saw someone dragging my teammate back toward the street. Standard rule once you're caught. That meant it was almost my last chance to run. I dropped the blanket from my face, scanned the area and prepared to make a break for the checkpoint. But then, I heard it. Just inches behind me, the sharp crunch of leaves. Not a squirrel, not a branch falling. Footsteps. Before I could spin around, I felt 2 powerful hands clamp down on my shoulders. Not playful, not teasing, gripping, hard. I let out this half scream, half pained grunt and shouted, "Stop! Stop!" as I struggled out of the hands and ran. My heart was pounding, my vision blurred, I didn't make it to the checkpoint though. One of the seekers was right at the gate and tagged me before I even saw them. Gasping for breath, I walked back to the street. Both my teammates were already there, sitting on the curb, and all three of the seekers were standing together. Every single one of them. I blinked. Wait. All of you are already out here? Yeah, we caught your team. Then who? Who grabbed me in the woods? They all stared at me. No one said a word. Finally, Wyatt shook his head. We never went into the woods. None of us. I looked at every one of them. They were telling the truth. I could see it. Not even a hint of a joke. Whatever or whoever grabbed me wasn't any of them. That's when the fear hit. My legs felt numb, and my heartbeat doubled, rattling in my ears. I told them everything. The footsteps, the hands, how strong the grip was. At first, they didn't believe me, but I must have looked pale enough to change their minds. We ran back home and told our parents. The police were called, and they searched the woods. They didn't find anything, but that night changed things. Wyatt's parents didn't take any chances. Within a week, they had a full wooden fence built between their backyard and the edge of the woods. No gates, no openings, just a barrier. A fourth fence, where once there was only open space. We still played games after that. Flashlight tag, hide and seek. But we had to carry flashlights and keep the backyard lights on at all times. The woods, off limits. I still have those memories, laughing with my friends under the porch lights, sprinting across the yard with glowing flashlights. But even now, when I think back, I can still feel those hands on my shoulders, and I know whoever grabbed me that night wasn't playing the game.